name of the crazy one, Stella.
Sorry, Stella is the crazy one. And,
Stella.
and she knows
I have never
words.
met a dog like Stella.
Oh, she's
Nobody
something.
has.
Peach could totally do that though. He's like,
Yeah.
he's super smart. But I've seen that with other dogs too, where there's a whole, like they actually use it for language. Like it's amazing.
So cool.
Not so much you, right? Rocket scientist?
I took pictures of some of the video stuff for the piece on Janessa.
Yes.
I just took 2 pictures and sent it to her, and she was like, "What's this?" I'm like, "Oh, it's just this thing," and she's like, "I love it." She was so like excited. It was so. I didn't show her the whole video. I will. Once this is.
I'll upload it where you can. Oh, you have. I shared.
I have it. I just didn't want to share it until we shared it.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I was like, I have to include this because this was just the cutest.
So funny. So funny. You should like. She's yeah.
That's good.
Oh, I'm trying to realize, like, what am I going to do Friday mornings now? It's going to be so weird.
Yeah.
Let me phrase that. What am I going to do, like, every morning? I have Google Meets, like, every single day. So it's going to be weird.
I'll have to get into a whole new schedule, right?
Man, it took me 3 months to get into this one.
Do you see it?
No.
I think I see it now.
All right, guys, what do you say? Do we get started?
Yeah.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome back. Thank you so much for joining us on our last office hours together. We will start with our traditional territorial acknowledgement.
We acknowledge that the land on which we are gathered is part of the traditional territory of the Chippewa, Odawa, Potawatomi, and Delaware Nations. These indigenous nations, known as the Anishinaabe and Lenape, agreed through their ancestral languages to the mutual sharing of the land with obligations and responsibilities to the environment. Today, these responsibilities and obligations extend to all peoples.
Great. So as always, we just want to give you a chance to weigh in, talk about how your week was, what's on your mind, knowing that we're going into our last week of school. What's everybody thinking and feeling today?
I'll talk if no one else is going to talk. I'm feeling pretty social. Well, I already said, I'm like, what's it going to be like after next week? Next week is going to be like so weird. I have a lot of students who are voicing how they're feeling sad. It's the end of June, school's done. I'm like, all right, well, we're running out of Google Meet, so make sure you show up next week, that sort of thing, and like remind your friends. I had a couple wins this week. I had one student who I hadn't heard from since March 13th log into a grade 8 Google Meet and was successful. Like full on participated, spoke French. I don't even get that in class. So I thought that was huge. And then I had 4 grade 2, 3s today when I usually get like 1 or 2. So I'm like, awesome. We did a French scavenger hunt where I told them to go find something in a certain color and they had to go get it. And they were like flying around the house. It was hilarious.
That's fun. Yeah. So Sammy, what do you think it was with that grade 8 student?
I don't know. He just hasn't been, I don't know. It's just like, maybe I should check it out. Maybe my buddies were going to, I don't know. Like my attendance has dropped drastically in grade 7, 8 over the last 2 weeks. But I mean, like end of June, they know they're graduating. I don't know what happened, but I'm glad you're there, man. So I'm getting students popping onto these Google Meets that I haven't seen in months now rather than before, because I think they're missing the social interaction and seeing their peers. So
that's great. Good job. Love hearing stories like that. What about everyone else? What are you feeling going into our last week of school? Last week of remote learning anyways, for now. Got a quiet group today. Okay, that's all right. Okay, so the point of today is really I don't suspect it's going to be a full hour session. We are just here. We really want to just have this opportunity to talk with you guys about the learning that's happened over the last few months in our time together. And we want to hear what you have to say so that we can help better support going forward. We know that we don't know anything about what the fall is going to bring. So that's where we're at right now. All options are on the table at this point, and we just want to know if we are in a remote learning situation still in the fall, what supports, what's working. We just want to have a conversation with all of you about what that might look like. So the first question we put up there as a prompt was, from your experiences with distance learning, what might you put in place in September?
I'll go. I'm going to keep up with the Google Meets. I found huge success and a lot of wins for my students being in the Google Meets, even if it's only a couple rather than several. But it also invokes small group learning. So I never get a full group. I always get part of a group rather than the full class. And it's successful. Like I can ask certain students to speak up, or I give them the option to pass. Or if their mic isn't working, they type and I give them a certain task and they do it. And it's been a huge win. So I'd like to keep that in place and keep that like consistent, like I've been keeping it consistent for the last 2 months.
And I think Google Meets is rolling out a lot of new features over the next little while, which will make it even easier and better for you.
Yeah, I saw that too, Steph. Do you know what some of those are? I remember reading it too, and I forget, like breakout rooms is now going to be
There's breakout rooms, yep. No, I don't remember all of them, but just because we've worked a lot in Zoom and then transitioning to Google Meets, there was quite a significant difference, but I think some of these things will help in terms of delivering material remotely.
Yeah. There was another one there that really struck me as, oh, this will be great for our language students, but I can't even remember what it was right now.
You're doing a whiteboard feature and the raise your hand feature like they have in Zoom.
Whiteboard, yeah, maybe that was it.
Okay, yes.
And they've always had the closed caption, which is really cool.
Mm-hmm.
So you can put the closed caption on.
In the chat, Jane says she's going to start up her Google Classrooms right away, and Christina will too. So get those set up right from the get-go.
Yeah.
And it's nice that they've built in that integration with Google Meets into Google Classroom. So it's right there for you.
What would we chat?
Oh, sorry, Teresa. I'll just
Go ahead.
share, building on what Sammy was doing, I think it was great for a core French teacher to do Google Meets. I wasn't really sure how to wrap my mind around doing my own, so I just jumped in. But I really do a primary Google Meet once a week, a junior, and then an intermediate, instead of having 8 different ones, right?
Yeah.
Having 3 set times. I think you get more students at least and have that classroom feeling. But yeah, I'm going to take Sammy's lead on that for the fall.
Awesome. Any ideas what you're going to do during that time, Corey?
You know, I think I'm going to try to make it as natural as I can, as if I was in the classroom. Start with the date, and we talk about the weather, and we talk about preferences. Just try to make it as normal as possible.
Yeah, building in those routines. And it will be so different if we are starting in September, as opposed to the transition we had mid-year, right? Without any sort of forewarning or anything. So we have time to think about it, right? We've had practice time, if you will, for the last few months that hopefully it'll make for a smoother transition in September.
Can I chime in there for the Google Meets? I have a fun idea if you're going to do them. I actually stopped doing just games on some of my younger kids' Google Meets, and we did mini lessons too, just reviewing days of the week and stuff like that, so they remember how to say the date and how to do it. I pulled out my whiteboard extension and actually showed them how you write it and stuff like that too. But we also started doing an image du jour. So we have a Google Meet once a week. So I pull up a picture on my screen and I say, qu'est-ce que tu vois? And my goal for them is just reiterate, je vois, je vois, je vois, il y a. And then I'm like, I want you to throw in any words you remember in French. If you don't know it in French, say it in English and I will assist you. And then they say the whole sentence again. So over the last 3 weeks where I've done image du jour, the amount of French I've heard over Google Meets has expanded drastically.
I love that as a strategy for English language learners as well. I use a lot of pictures and then we talk about it, and you can focus in, maybe you're working on past tense verbs or you're working on adjectives, or the picture prompts are wonderful because they give the students something to look at and something to like concrete. That's fantastic.
So Jane in the chat just said I do a lot of that with my immersion students. Yeah.
So Jane, how do you, obviously with immersion students at your grade level, their language proficiency is quite different than what you might find in a primary or junior core French class. How do you use the photos?
Well, I just added to the chat that I also would use it in content subjects like history, for example. So I brought the history, we used the flip book, the history geography flip book in immersion as one of the resources. So I just grabbed that in a quick grab in the classroom to bring resources home. And I have a scanning app on my iPad. So I scanned a picture, and it was of the Loyalists arriving in Nova Scotia. And it was a painting depicting that event. So I took a picture of it, and then I said, okay, tell me what you see and what do you wonder? And then, so they would respond. A lot of them said, oh, could it be the Acadians deported? And which I thought was pretty good, because it's a similar, it's maybe 50 years later. So yeah, I'll use picture prompts for content subjects to get them thinking about events in history that we talk about. And then, a couple of people, we talked a bit about Loyalists before we finished for March break. So a couple of people hit on that. And then, we talked about what we knew about the Loyalists and what we wanted to find out, and what their impact on what Canada at the time was. And so we just went from there. As a follow-up activity, I asked the question, this picture was actually painted 150 years after the event. Why would that be significant? And so some of them said, well, so the person that painted it wasn't actually there at the time. So they're sort of using their sort of historical details and their own imagination. So anyway, it just sparked a whole conversation about the impact of the Loyalists and what happened at the time, all from one picture.
Yeah, that's incredible.
And it was a lot less threatening than, with distance learning, me asking them to write an essay about the Loyalists. It was just a gentler, I think, introduction to it for them.
And so language rich, right? That oral communication is probably the hardest part during remote learning, right? To try to recreate in this platform. That's like an awesome example of how you can bring in so much more oral.
Yeah. And I got some really good answers from them. The other thing that I think I'm going to continue doing no matter what, I mean, I've used Google Classroom for the past few years, and I use it in the actual physical classroom too, for them to hand in assignments and whatnot. So it wasn't too much of a stretch for us to go to that when we had to learn from home. But I read a whole novel during the quarantine or the lockdown, whatever it was, whatever we're doing right now. I read a novel to the grade 6s, and I scanned each page, so it was actually a read aloud, but they could see the text.
Okay.
And then I made a shadow puppet with me reading it to them.
Okay, so it was recorded so they could listen in at any point?
Yep, they could listen, they could go back and listen again as many times as they wanted. They could look up a word, they could pause it. It was, I just use shadow puppet because it's so easy to use. And they don't have a 30-second time limit anymore. And anyway, so yeah, I did one chapter a week, and then each week they did a little reflection. And so yeah, I got some pretty good answers out of some of them.
That's awesome. So many cool things happening. Other ideas you guys have for September? Knowing what you know now. Okay. What about what continues to be a challenge for you during distance learning?
Attendance.
Well,
I think knowing their connection to making sure they have the right tools. Like my eye opener is when there's a big family of 5 and they have one computer to share. Well, how are they all supposed to do their work? So making sure that they have the tools they need and the internet. What's it called? Rod would know, the width band or whatever they need. I think that's challenging.
The bandwidth for it.
Bandwidth.
Mm-hmm.
I'm with Jane on that last one. I had a couple students who couldn't connect because of babysitting.
Right.
Or family troubles, like some kids had parents that needed their assistance due to an accident. So like, yeah, there's so many other factors contributing. I had some parents say that they felt like their kids were not in a good learning environment because they couldn't focus.
Yeah, they're out of our hands. But hopefully we can have a better playing field for them, at least if we are going this route.
Hi, it's Jackie. I was just wondering if in the fall, are the parents going to be told that language and math are the focus again? And I had a good response to my activities, but I had also some students say math or French isn't a focus, so I don't have to do it, kind of thing. So will they be given the same message, or is there going to be a new message set out? Just because some have that mindset. If we're not told we have to do it, we don't have to. And I'm just curious. Do you know anything about that? No? Okay.
Unfortunately, we don't have an answer for you.
Okay.
We're all sitting here waiting for more information from the ministry.
I did see a posting for the summer school, a job that is more with the arts, not to talk for French, but I'm wondering if they've already obviously noticed that with all of the prep subjects as well.
Mm-hmm.
Something needs to be done. You're right. They can't. It's not fair. No, it's not fair. But I will say that in my experience, my grade 7 and 8 students were very good at logging on and doing what they could. I found that the grade 5, 6s weren't so great, but my juniors and my younger ones were very good at doing it. But I just thought, I was in the school during the retrieval of items, and some of the kids were like, sorry, mademoiselle, it said we didn't have to do it. And I'm like, well, but I just wondered, when they get that message, to some of them, it's like, oh, great, I don't have to do it.
Yeah.
And it's those students that probably need to do it. It's just a thought. Sorry.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we don't have an answer for you. We're all in this thing about that. We're hoping, right? Like, especially if we're starting a school year out in that situation.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Like, it was one thing when it was just short term, but when we thought it was only short term.
Right.
But yeah, we're all in the same situation, hoping that there's a little bit more emphasis put on our second language learners as well.
Okay, that's good.
So Stan, just keep waiting for information, just like everyone else. This is the worst, right?
I check every day.
I know. And sadly, we probably won't know until what, August 30th, maybe?
Agreed.
When I found out that French language was put on the back burner, I actually, the first Google Meets I had my kids, I'm like, okay, you guys have been told that French has been put on the back burner language and English is your focus. However, if you don't use French, you're going to lose it. So I just encourage them to do something every day, even if it was 10 minutes of Duolingo, or come to the Google Meet once a week, like do something every day to connect with French so you don't lose your vocab, because you will lose it. And I just kept stressing what could happen if they didn't keep up with French. And those who didn't do French for 2 weeks and got into a meet, they're like, oh, buddy, it clicked, and they started getting more consistent with their workload.
That's awesome. That's great.
Sammy, I did that. My sister Joanne and I did a lot of planning together. So we had like a daily check-in activity, and we kind of set up a routine. So Monday they did a survey, and on Tuesday they did a listening exercise where we would give them a Google form, and they had to look at 2 pictures, and we'd have an oral description they had to choose. Wednesday was kind of a mishmash of different activities. Some were like flippity activities, etc. Thursday was a speaking activity. We'd give them a question and they would have to record their answer. So we did try to make it inviting, and I think the routine of it was good, and just the quick little tasks were good, but we still had several who were like, no, I don't have to do it because it's not a focus. So, it's whatever.
Yeah, I know. I definitely had students like that too, especially my older kids.
I tried.
That's all we can do, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Is there anything else out there that you guys are thinking, or you're thinking, concerned about, or wondering about for the fall?
I really like Jackie's idea of doing the routine, like getting a routine set for every day. See, I've been putting it out at the beginning of the week and saying, here you go. And then like I put the reminder link out on Wednesdays for our meets or whenever the day is. And then I threw out our field trip link on Fridays. So we all just go on a trip together, and I go bilingual for it. So, but I like the idea of having something that goes out every day. It's just I was trying not to overwhelm the kids.
Corey, do you want to talk a little bit more about that?
I found it really frustrating with my primary classes. I didn't want to overwhelm them of having 2 Seesaw logins. So I jumped in on my SK1, 2, 3, and 3, 4 homeroom teachers. And it was very challenging just because when you log in, you see all of their work, all their notifications. I need a better idea on how to support my younger kids with having my own platform. So any ideas for that, not to overwhelm the kids, like 2 Seesaws? I don't know what the best thing. I thought my website would be good, but then I couldn't have like the activities part in the Seesaw. Junior intermediate were great. I had my own platforms, but that was a big challenge for homeroom teachers as well, because they were always on me for, can you approve your activities? Like, they were on me. Anyway, if anyone has a better idea on how to support our younger learners with their own platforms.
I shared the Seesaw with my younger teachers too, like with the 1, 2, 2, 3, and 3, 4. I was joint to their Seesaw. On certain devices, you can improve, like they can improve only theirs and you can improve only yours, which is nice. But if you're on your phone, I guess you have to go in order. But one teacher, she made me an entire French folder, and just that way I could just put my stuff into the French folder. And so if you go to the journal and just click French, it's like whoop, right there. So that I found that was helpful. But I'm kind of with you, Corey. I kind of want to do my own Seesaw next year rather than joining it. But it, like you said, 2 logins could be challenging for the kid.
And in remote learning, it's challenging. In actual setting, I do have my own Seesaw for them, and I teach them how to log in and log off, and I make sure they're logged back into the homeroom before I leave. But I don't know if that would be too over for the kids or not, but I really need my own space. I couldn't stretch enough.
That's fair. Yeah.
I hear that from prep teachers as well. You feel that.
It is hard to balance that, right, though? But like you said, you're very cognizant of, from the family's perspective, what's going to work for them. It's trying to find that perfect balance. And I think again, if we're starting in this position, it's a little bit different than when we were quickly transitioning with very little notice, right? So I think there's an opportunity for these conversations and that leading up to September and what will be those best practices. Like I just think of all of the login information that was provided to parents early on and it just seemed to slowly trickle out, and it just became very challenging to manage that. Are there systems we could be putting in place to help parents like contain all of that login information in one spot, as opposed to here's a message with this login information and a few days later here's another one, and so things like that we now have time to prepare for, just to be thinking of, and I think that kind of falls in line with it.
But Corey, when
I don't have an answer.
when I log in for my daughter, there's a bunch of classrooms, like I log in under her, there's a bunch of classrooms she can click into from there.
Okay, so it's not a matter of.
No, I think so she uses her
completely logging out and logging into a French. I've never really seen it as a parent.
I think
it's not too hard.
No, I think I don't think you have to log in with a different I think once you're logged in, you just go to the right classroom.
Yeah.
Teresa, are you talking Google or Seesaw though?
Seesaw. Oh, Google. Right. Okay. Google Classroom. Thank you.
I have some teachers who are using Seesaw, and then my daughter's teachers are using Seesaw. So I can go between joining a class as a teacher to joining a class as a mom as well. So I think it's probably fine. Click on and join into once you have your initial code to sign in.
Okay, I
so
think
it just be that initial setup maybe.
Yeah, I know when you set your Seesaw up to log in with a Google email, like my juniors, they just flip between but they were set up the same way. So with the home codes, that was I wasn't sure with the home codes because it's a QR code rather than the Google email like I would set up my junior classes. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
it does. I don't have an answer.
Yeah. I'll play around with it. You know what? Maybe I'll contact a parent and a teacher, and we'll play around this summer.
Pam Gallant
I was
going
to say, yeah,
fabulous
Pam might be able to help.
for any Seesaw questions. She's really, really knowledgeable. That if you aren't able to find it, that would be maybe someone to reach out to. But yeah, I agree. If you have a parent that you feel really comfortable with, that you can kind of experiment around with, that would be one way, because then you have a better idea of what they're seeing too.
I think we're in such a unique position too as prep and French teachers, because we have multiple classes that go in. That's so many kids and so many codes and so many parents and but I really am looking forward to having some sort of system in place just for myself. Hopefully I can bump forward each year as well, not have to keep putting in. I don't know if that's in place to do that or not.
You're cut out there for a second, Megan. You're hoping for what?
I'm hoping for having my own also Seesaw platform for my students, and hopefully I can bump them forward each year as well.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
If that, I think I remember that earlier that you can just save the names from another teacher's classroom and pump them into your own, but I didn't have that. I wasn't able to do it.
I think there is a way, but I don't know that if it's at the teacher level. I feel like I remember hearing Pam talk about this, but I think it's something at the board level, because it has to do with their OEN, their student numbers and all of that. It has, in order to be able to do that. So I don't think it's at the school level that you'll be able to do that, if it's even possible.
But something to note, like this is like, that's something that can be brought up, right?
Yeah. Because we will be looking for your feedback on these types of, this kind of conversation, so that we can, as a program team, not just us three, but the team as a whole, what is needed to make this more successful. So things like that are good to share.
Okay, well then here's another little glitch that I found, and I don't know if it's real or if my students are playing me, but said some of them got kicked out of my class, like Google Classroom, and I gave them the code again, and we put it in together like through a Zoom meet, and they got in, and then they said no, I was booted out again. So I don't know that's a real issue, if a lot of my students have had that problem, if it's totally made up. I don't. Does anyone
I
else
don't
have
know
this?
what to say, Megan. Anybody else had that experience?
I'm wondering if it's a Wi-Fi issue as well. I don't know. I've heard people getting kicked out, but being able to, with Zoom, sometimes when we were going to breakout rooms, they'd kick you out and you'd have to log back in.
But you're talking out of the classroom, right, Megan? Not the Google Meet?
Yes, Google Classroom. So,
Oh.
I mean, I can see his name on my class list in Google Classroom. We had all previously set everything up before COVID anyway. So I know everyone was in originally, but then he sent an email to me and to the other prep teacher to say he had been kicked out. So I don't know if maybe he deleted it himself by accident. So we gave him the codes again. He got in with our assistant, and then he said he had the same problem. So it very well could be just a Wi-Fi issue, but if this is a real thing, maybe solve it.
Could you see him in the classroom all the time?
I could see his name on my list. Yeah, so I
Okay.
had no idea that he had this.
I
A
wonder
bunch
if it's
of-
email
Sorry.
account he's logging in with.
Yeah. A bunch of my students have had trouble because they have a personal Gmail account and then their LKDSB.com one. And if they're under their other account, then they can't get in. And then even if you give them the code, they still can't get in because we can't add anybody without the LKDSB.com email.
Okay, perfect. Okay, that makes a lot of sense too. So I'll talk to him about that.
So yeah, make sure that he's using his LKDSB.com because otherwise they won't be able to get in and the classroom won't exist for them.
Does anybody else have really hilariously high marks for your students? We did a test right before March break and everybody aced it. So the reading and writing marks are like almost 95s across the board, even the kids who barely did anything all year. Like, come on. Pretty funny, but is what it is.
This is definitely a school year that we will never forget. Right? Like, honestly, have you ever encountered such a crazy year in your whole career?
Yes.
What's everybody else wondering for the fall? What's on your mind?
Da, da, da.
In the chat, Sammy mentioned about like getting everyone set up, right? And playing around with the tech first. And I think that piece is really, really important, right? For parents especially, so that they know how they can support kids at home. Because it's been like remote learning on top of a pandemic and perhaps not working for parents or working more for parents, like all of those pieces have all added on. So hopefully in the fall we can start up a little bit slower curve.
I'm thinking more about my grade ones coming up from SK.
Oh, good point.
Because that's going to be real fun.
That's my daughter
You
too.
have no French. So it's going to be.
Oh, right.
Because you're starting from scratch in grade one, right? So it's like, and trying to get them on tech to do French, it's not going to be an easy journey.
Wonder if you'd have
Lots of songs.
Lots
Yes.
of songs.
All of the songs, Corey, absolutely.
I just have a question. I've heard, and I know there's lots of theories and ideas going around about next year, but one idea that was that possibly us as prep teachers would have a group of students that we are responsible for, like in our own classroom per se. And then if that, how would give prep coverage and how would that all look? I don't know if anybody's ever heard that or not, but that was the theory that I had heard.
Janet, you cut out a little bit there, but I think I got the gist of it. And I have heard that same theory, right? That there won't be prep teachers per se. That, and again, these are all just theories being played out, right? We don't know any of this officially. But I've heard that same thing, that there won't be prep teachers per se, and that those teachers will take on a group of students in an attempt to make those groupings smaller. How that will play out for FSL is anybody's question, right? I think it will come down to whether FSL is a focus or not next year. That'll be a key
thing. They have
place,
that
because not everyone will be able to teach French to their own group, right? So I don't know. I really don't have an answer for you, Janet, unfortunately.
No,
Yeah,
I just wondered if that was just, a common theory out there, or if that was just something that a few people have been throwing around or whatever. But okay, wait and see.
Yeah.
One
Yeah,
of the
no.
board options they put out there was just like nothing is set in stone. We're just waiting to find out what's going to happen, right? But one of the options they were throwing out there was the alternating days, just to split the class in half, do alternating days, like we used to when I was a kid in JKSK. But that would also mean curriculum cuts. So that's where we're really holding on and just waiting, I guess, because what happened in one of the more northern boards, they cut all the arts and phys ed, and I would just went into shock.
I think phys ed is definitely a real risk, right? Just the nature of phys ed class. It's hard to social distance.
Then we debate the well-being of every student, right? Like how your mind can like go off on it, right? Because you wonder, what is it going to look like? Unfortunately, we don't know.
So then the last part we wanted to talk to you about today was, what topics are you interested in learning about to support student achievement in second language acquisition? So we've been getting together for, I think this is week 10, and I know many of you have been here for all of them or most of the meetings, and we've had such a variety of people sharing their ideas and content, what they're doing, and the learning has just been phenomenal. And we're wondering if we are in a similar situation next year. What are you looking for? How can we support students?
Is that noise or is someone talking?
I think it was just background noise.
It's probably my children. Hold on, I'll mute.
Stuff that you guys have done, honestly, I appreciate them. I wish I could do more, and I intend and hope I continue to go back and check them out and continue to develop my skills. Like I want to make some better stuff so that at least visually entertaining and quick and painless. And my philosophy with teaching French has always been make it fun, even if they hate learning French, right? At least if it's fun, they're still hooked. So online, I started with beautiful, colorful things and slowly got a lot more boring as time went on. So you go back and get more ideas for how to make things much more interactive, purposeful, because it's got to be a lot of learning condensed into a small package, right? That they're motivated to click into week or each day, depending on what we have to do.
I like what you said, that it needs to be very intentional, that we don't have as much time as we normally would. So being very intentional about what we're choosing to focus on is so essential right now.
I definitely love the idea of sharing resources too, when people have created something fabulous, have access to it too. I mean, Corey and Mariah have always been really amazing with that, and these workshops too. Everyone's been so open with sharing ideas and skills, and I mean, as French teachers, like, we hold each other up, right? So
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, because otherwise it's hard to have that collaboration, right, when you're in a building by yourself. So I love that idea, a team drive. Why not? Let's do it.
I have a happy story for you, by the way.
Okay.
Especially people who are new to teaching core French. So I had a couple of students who were like the little goobers in my class for years, and just always spot, always making things uncomfortable, always rolling their eyes, everything. They showed up at my door yesterday. They're grade 8 grads now, and I haven't taught them in like another year, but they showed up at my door yesterday. They came to apologize and to thank me for always making it fun, and that they were really sorry that they gave me a hard time all those years. So I thought it's so sweet of them and appreciate it.
That's awesome.
Good place, right?
Sammy, insert thumbs up. That's cute. That's awesome. That's so, isn't it, like, that makes it all worthwhile right there, doesn't it?
Exactly. I'm going to turn the down. Daughter's got a meeting.
So there seems to be some interest in continuing sessions next year, and for sure. I don't know at what, until we know what the year looks like, what our availability will be, but to some degree, I really do hope to continue with the networking that we've started here, and whether that be monthly sessions or whatever that looks like, depending on our format next year back to school. And I think personally, the online format works. People are able to participate no matter where they are, and you're not driving across the board to get to a session. So that's definitely been, to me, a bonus of this format.
Well, and it's just so nice to have the opportunity to talk to each other about what we're doing and what's working, and then getting those ideas. Again, like you said, being one person in a building is really challenging. And it's just been wonderful listening to all of you talk about what you're doing in the classroom and how excited you are about the work the students are doing.
The learning has been amazing for us too. Every week we walk away and we're like, wow, that was so awesome. We have a chat after the chat about the awesome things that are being shared and what you guys are doing.
Get on our phones and we're like, whoa, that was so awesome.
Okay, so with that being said, the program department has created a survey, and this is not specific to us, but the information is sort of organized by what sessions you have attended. So it will end up being feedback for us. So if you could take a few minutes, let me throw that link in the, let me see if I have it open. Steph, do you have it handy?
I do not.
I don't think I do either. Let me see. I can, just a sec, I can copy from here now that I'm not in present mode. So we're just going to take a few minutes right now during the session, if you guys are okay with that, to complete the survey.
And it is anonymous, so feel free to be honest.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Okay, I can't get my chat box up. What's going on here? Is that because I'm screen sharing that I can't get it up?
Thanks.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. There you go.
I can. Oh, you got it?
I have the link. I just got to get to the chat somehow. There we go.
Okay.
There. So if you don't mind taking a little bit of time right now, we'll come back together in about 7 minutes. I'll throw that back up. We'll have a little timer, grab a drink if you need to, whatever, and we'll come back just to wrap up our final thoughts for this school year. Right. Welcome back. So hopefully you had a chance to get that finished. If not, whenever you have a chance, we would really, really appreciate hearing your feedback. So just quickly before we wrap it up, this is going a lot longer than we had anticipated, ladies. The conversation has been so good today. We're taking a lot away from it. So we just, like all teachers, we know the summer is a time of relaxation, but it's also a time where you do a lot of reflection yourself and thinking about what the next school year is going to bring. So we just wanted to redirect your attention to these two spots. The first one is, let me actually just, I think I have the slide, the window open here. So just a reminder that this website was created just during this time of remote learning. And if you toggle down to FSL, you will find all of the clips videos that we have created each week after one of our sessions. So if you just need a quick reminder about what some of the things where we talked about, these are quick little snippets of ways to, different things you can bring into the classroom, as well as, I know I shared this very early, back in March, but this is, I get there was a lot going on then. So I just wanted to redirect you to, it's not opening though, there we go, spreadsheet here that I've pulled together that looks at different resources to support. And if you click on the bottom, I can't see that tab because of my bar, but along the bottom there are the different tabs according to what program you teach and resources specific to you. So when you have some more time and you're looking for something new to try, there's somewhere to check out. And then I also just want to quickly remind you that if you did miss any of the sessions that, or if there was one that you want to go back and rewatch because there's something you want to learn about it, more specific, the LKDSB Zoom PD on YouTube is where all of the sessions are hosted. So you can always go back and check out anything you missed. And I do really encourage you, if you have a chance, to take a look at some of those other sessions from the different divisions. There were so many great ideas shared from all the different things, and there a lot of that content could be used in a FSL or ELL world as well.
And they covered some different topics in their clips videos as well coming out of their week. So you may want to go into their clips section and check out what they have created as well, just so that you can possibly have some more ideas, or perhaps one video works for you better than another video, but they did definitely cover some different topics.
Right. So that's an example right here. There we go. Images that prompt thinking. Look at that. So things we could absolutely use in our context as well. Okay, which brings us to the end. Steph went all out last night and she put together this cute little clips video of our time together over the last few weeks. So it's just really quick. Hang in there with us.
Bonjour, it's your pal Gretchen again. This Friday I will be joining the languages office hours.
Thank you, Steph. Such a great highlight.
We did so much stuff.
I know, it's been phenomenal. Your students are very lucky to have you as teachers, that's for sure. The dedication you bring to your job is evident. The fact you keep showing up here week after week and nobody's making you is just telling of your character. So great, good for you. And with that, we wish you all a lovely, lovely summer. Don't hesitate to reach out to any of us at any point if we can support you in your planning. And obviously we'll be right here in September alongside you to support along the way. But take this time to relax and rejuvenate and get away from the screen for a bit. That's my plan anyways. So thank you, everyone. Have a good week.
Thank you.
Good last week of school. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you, everybody.